During all these numerous years, we so used to witness the greatness of Cristiano and Messi on a daily basis that their current evident drop of form is an extremely unusual picture to see, even if we bear in mind that both the Portuguese and the Argentine are at the venerable age by football standards. So what are the reasons behind the drastic downturn of perennial superstars in 2022? If you want to find out an explanation for it, this video will shed light on the subject. Let's start with Ronaldo. The fact that he has a pretty difficult task ahead of him was apparent even at the point when Cristiano's late summer transfer from Juventus to MU has been materialized. After 3 years spent in the Serie A, where a strong upper body and ability to navigate in the box are keys to success for any player of his position, the Portuguese was forced to adapt to a completely different reality. In England, pace, intensity and durability have a paramount importance, and in comparison with Italy, football here is almost a different sport. It would be fair to say, though, that the deplorable state in which United are now for months did hurt Cristiano even more badly than the abrupt change of environment. That today's MU are disorganized and poor passing team, and are particularly weak and primitive in the face of positional attack. Meanwhile, Ronaldo, who in his 20s during the whole decade has been the most devastating offensive weapon in the fast break situations, in the last few years thrived mainly on goals scored after long and nifty combinations, wisely adapting his game to a different reality when, in the early 30s, he visibly lost at least a big chunk of his trademark athleticism. He discreetly but extremely efficiently converted himself into a box specialist who masterfully marks an end of an attack. Playing this way, the Portuguese scored tons of goals at Zidane's Real Madrid and was prolific at Juventus during Sarri's and Pirlo's brief eras as well, when the team used a similar conception of football based on cutting and passing offense, although with much less success. But at Old Trafford, Cristiano evidently lacks a decent service in this facet of the game. For instance, in the recent away game versus Atletico, he received ball only 28 times, which is a flagrantly small number. In addition to it, he made touches mainly in not particularly dangerous areas of the field, where he couldn't pose a threat even being in his absolute prime. The worst thing is that United's positional attack will hardly get any better over time, given that Ralph Rangnick, in his managerial career, always overlooked this component of play, cultivating strictly fast and open football. But at the age of 37, it's hard to play in this fashion, especially if we recall that even in this phase, the current MU are erratic and far from being excellent. Mindful that transition defense was a main weak point of the team in the last months of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure, the German had to artificially slow down the tempo in search of some kind of accommodation, and therefore decreased the efficiency of fast breaks both in terms of quality and quantity. As a result, Cristiano, who scored in his old manner from time to time in the period when Solskjaer was still in charge, now seldom enjoys this type of goals. The truth is that he is currently rarely enjoying the goals of any sort. Lately he endured a barren spell of 6 consecutive games and found a net only once in 2022 so far. In the situation when he is forced to work extremely hard just in order to get the ball, Ronaldo often simply has no energy and so needed lucidity to participate in the fast break. The late goal scored by Elanga at the Wanda Metropolitana has been extremely significant in this regard. Watch this episode again, and you barely spot Cristiano's presence at best. In fact, he was approximately 20 meters behind his young teammate, although the Portuguese's touch in the middle of the field provided an opportunity for a rare fast break. Having said that, one must not think that the five-time Ballon d'Or winner is in a bad physical shape now. Quite the contrary. Ronaldo, who runs about 10 kilometers per game, is still pretty fit player, and not only for his veteran age, but it's simply not enough now, even being combined with his legendary will, famous self-discipline, and unique desire to excel. At the age of 37, the Portuguese is a part of a badly functioning team which couldn't produce enough help and service for him on a regular basis. Under these circumstances, he is doomed to struggle, and this fact only magnifies his frustration. Without a shadow of doubt, he will try to leave Manchester in the upcoming summer if the club will be unable to book a place in the next Champions League, and I emphasized and, not or, won't find a head coach with a style of play that suits him and his needs, namely Mauricio Pochettino. As for Messi, whose Parisian anguish is well documented, his situation in a way similar to Cristiano's one, but at the same time is attributable to other reasons. I highlighted four of them. Let's begin with the special features of League One competition that people in general tend to overlook and underappreciate. Being inferior to Premier in terms of media attention, revenues, results in Europe, and thus respect, the French Championship has one significant edge. Football here is way more athletic and fast. This fact definitely caught the Argentine off guard. Spending his whole previous career in Spain, Lionel, in the last few years in particular, was accustomed to a measured, sometimes even leisure pace of play when he don't need to run much and could easily conserve his precious energy. In a game full of intensity and runs, it's harder for him to stay fresh and thus efficient. And we could recall the Champions League playoff knockout rounds in the last few years, where in spite all of his magic, experience and craft, he has been anonymous at some nights, just because this type of intensity doesn't suit him and his manner of play. In France, Messi had to cope with this kind of football almost on a weekly basis, and it certainly got him out of his natural balance and groove. The second reason is inextricably linked with the change of environment, but in a broader sense. Moving to Paris from his beloved Barcelona, where he for decades was the darling of public, media and TV, and at times even has been treated as a semi-god, the South American suddenly found himself in a situation when he really needs to prove a point. Meanwhile, the French fans and journalists met him with a tangible skepticism, which only increased after first several subpar matches. The desire to check and even test him is understandable. It's a matter of national pride and in a way of jealousy. It's obvious that everybody in France wants to ensure that the real and not former superstar came to their league, and that Messi will play there appropriately, on his classic level. This definitely put him under pressure, and there is no doubt that the Argentine is feeling it. The third reason is more banal. Lionel, who did hit the woodwork no less than 7 times only in the League One, is simply unlucky. Only Brian from Brentford experienced something similar this season in 5 major continental leagues. It would be right to add, though, that during his Barca years, Messi has lost plenty of goals in this manner either, but it didn't prevent him from scoring a lot and regularly. The final reason is closely connected with the figure of Kylian Mbappé. In the last few years at the Camp Nou, the Argentine, didn't have a teammate of this type and caliber who could be the focal point of offense in every single game. In order to utilize the Frenchman's pace and acceleration to the maximum, Pochettino often deploys Messi in a deeper role in order to use his unparalleled playmaker's talent. It's worth to point out that 4 out of 10 Leo assists in the French league went to Kylian. Therefore, it's harder for the South American to finish the plays being positioned so far away from the target, especially we recall that, unlike Barca, where basically all offensive moves have been revolved around Lionel, at PSG he has to make things happen by himself and couldn't rely as much as previously on his interaction with the offensive partners. Anyway, whatever poor and meager Messi's goal-scoring record in the French Championship is, his season and his true influence on the PSG's performances would be defined by the Champions League results, and in this tournament the great things still could be achieved.